Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. How are you all doing today? Um, Welcome to our live discussion of our next book of the book club. I see some of you been active a little bit already in the chat. I love to see that. So we'll get to those comments very soon. But hope you can see me and hear me well. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about the Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace-Wells. My edition says The Story of the Future, and my audiobook that I listened to at the same time said the other thing. What was it? It's A Story of the Future, and the audiobook said, so there are two editions apparently, or two versions more or less. Life After Warming. And they are very similar. There are some things that are missing or some things that are added to either edition, but most of it, like, it was pretty much the same. And yeah, I've got lots of tabs. I've got most of them are orange, so those are just like the general tabs because I wanted to match the spine. But then I have two. One of them is green, which was like super hopeful message apparently, and then I have yellow, which was like big deal for some reason. I don't remember what it was, but oh yeah, yellow was that this is actually incredible thought. I love it. So that, and yeah, the Uninhabitable Earth was our book for the CliMates Bookclub in September and October. It is a nonfiction book about the climate change and the climate crisis, and about all the things that the climate change is making worse or affecting. And yeah, there was a lot in this book talked about, a lot of horrible things. And I had this recommended, like, not personally, but I saw a girl I follow a few years back say that, like, this is a book that everybody should read. It's absolutely fantastic. So I got it back in the day, and now glad I read it. It also has, it is blurbed by Matt Haig. I didn't realize. Urgently readable, however much you think you know about climate crisis, Wallace-Wells will open your eyes even wider. That's not wrong. He is not wrong. But hello everyone, welcome. Let me go through the comments quickly. I haven't finished this yet, but fortunately you can't really spoil this sort of book. Yeah, you can't. You can't really spoil this. It doesn't have. Yeah, it's not like the, which one was it? The mother tree, finding the mother tree. That one had some form of spoiler in the end, you could say, even though that's nonfiction as well. This one doesn't. So yeah, you can watch this even before you read the book. Don't think you miss that much anyways in the end. Yeah, I don't think so. Everything is the worst. This will continue. Probably the whole book, right? Yes, the whole book. Yeah, it does. Yes. Hello, Natalie. Hello, Larissa. Welcome. How are you guys? I listened to the first 1.5 hours and then stopped. I like the overview of facts, the broad picture, and also the narration of the audiobook by the author. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think overall it was a good book. It is not gonna stand out from all the other books we've read for the book club or other books I've read in this genre, but it's not, it's not even close to the bad ones we've read. So yeah. Well done, Barua, for finishing just in time. Yeah, thanks. I finished 1.5 hours ago. And then I took a little break. I did some diamond painting, and now we are ready to discuss. Mine says Life After Warming. Yeah, I don't think they are like too different. I don't know why they have different subtitle. I think it could be based on when they were reprinted. Mine, does it say? Text copyright 2019. Printed in Great Britain. It doesn't say when. Published in Penguin Books 2019. First published Yeah, it doesn't say when this edition was published. But yeah, and there is index in the end as well. What does that even mean? Ah, there. Okay, yeah. So it is the normal. Elon Musk. But I had the audiobook only and couldn't keep the facts. I kept forgetting everything I heard and wasn't in a mood for physical reading, so I stopped, mainly here to hear you chat about it. Yeah, totally fair. If it wasn't for the book club, I did not feel in the mood for this book either at the moment, but you know, I'm glad I did it. It was very interesting, and there were some thoughts that I'll definitely take with me and will live rent free in my head for sure. But some things, like nothing special. We already talked about those things a lot. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun discussion, I think, even if you read only 1.5 hour. Live After Warming was mine too, and the cover was the flooded tower bridge. Oh, what? Ah, but you have a German translation. That's interesting. Yeah, we have a dead bee. You know, that's funny actually. We have a dead bee on the cover. In the book, the bee issue is mentioned only in one page, and even then, it's talked about as in climate change had nothing to do with the bee crisis. So, what is this? Like, the climate change does affect or does directly cause the or insects and killed them, but the bee crisis was not caused by the climate change. So it feels a little strange that there is a bee, even though this is a bumblebee, not a proper bee, but or at least it looks like it's a bumblebee. I don't know, but I find it a little ironic. Um, my audio said live after warming as well, but was different, so I switched to just reading with my eyes. Okay, that's interesting. Mine was pretty similar. Like there were some paragraphs that were a little bit different or left out or added, but like 99% of the book was the same. Hello, Elena. I'm only halfway through, but I do want to finish it. Good, sounds good. Mine is the 2020 reprint trade paperback, so it says. Ah, okay, so that could be why. Yeah, I got this one a long time ago. I can actually tell you exactly, maybe, when I got it. That's not the correct spreadsheet. When did I get my copy? I've had it for a long time. March 2021. Okay. I thought it was longer than that, but fair. But yeah, I think mine is from 2019 then. Poor little bee friend. Yeah, poor little guy. I listened and read at the same time, and indeed, word sentences were changed, so it read a bit weird at times. Yeah, yeah. I also listened and read at the same time, but I guess it depends on which edition. Uh, because yeah, some things were a bit different, but yes, I said 99% in my case was the same, so I didn't find it that strange or that irritating. That's what I was trying to do. I kept getting confused and had to pause to catch up, then paused again to highlight, etc. And it was a lot. Yeah, uh, I honestly did start with like pausing, but it felt like he was narrating so much um, that I could have just, like when I was found something that I wanted to underline something or write a note, I could just do it while he was, while he kept reading the rest. So I didn't pause every single time I was underlining something, only if I had to reread something. But if I was like, okay, this is cool, and then I just went to underline it, I was at the same time listening to what he was saying next. So I didn't pause every single time I put a tab or underline something. So yeah, but yeah, it is a lot if you listen at the same time. So if you need to pause. Wow, typos today. Sorry, my bad wrist is being rude. No, no worries, no worries. I think I understood everything you said there, so all good. I kept circling good words he used or underlining pretty phrases. Really like his writing. Okay, nice. Um, yeah, writing. I actually didn't like the writing. I thought, well, in some sections it was extremely philosophical and like too many fancy words that I did not understand. Now that could be definitely impacted the like why I didn't like it, because I didn't understand, because English is not my first language. But then on like 2 pages later, or maybe even the next page or the same page, it would be extremely childish. So it just felt a little like it wasn't bad. I just felt like it was not the most compelling writing style for me. But yeah, that's my English major brain going into analysis mode. Yeah, yeah, that's all good. I have nothing to do with the English literature, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, some like wordplay or the way he phrased some things was very interesting. But I did not love it enough to underline everything or to do that. But I started a list of his favorite words so far: quotidian, sanguine, and innocuous. Oh, yeah. And also, he was saying a lot perversely. Something like perversely. He said that a lot. I'm like, time he used it, I was like, okay, whatever, moving on. Second time he said it, I was like, oh, here it is again. Third time he used it, I had to go to Google and Google what perversely actually means, because we all know what perverse could mean. So I was like, why is he using it? So yeah, that's, you can add that to the list. True, I'll add that to yes. The whole philosophical part in the end was too much for me, but in some sentences he really had a great way to hammer it in. That's true. Yeah, yeah, definitely. The last part, I was just like, I don't know what you're trying to say. It felt a little all over the place for me. The philosophical part, he, I like that he did not outright agree or disagree with certain points, but the way he wrote it was a bit, I don't know, it felt a little, I don't know how to describe it. I was very bored, and at the same time it like it was fascinating, but not fascinating enough to like it, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't like the last few chapters. Some observations were interesting. Some I disagreed with, which totally fair, because they were quite philosophical. So there is gonna be definitely lots of things that people will disagree with from the philosophical standpoint of view, standpoint, which is normal, and that's the kind of point of philosophy. So yeah, it was interesting, but I was also bored. I had to look up quotidian. No idea. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I kept getting distracted by the facts and Googling them more. Used some in my dissertation. It was good that there were the references at the back. Yes, that actually, I have a note of that, that I did not like. He didn't put any references in the text itself. I don't know if it's fixed in the later editions, but in this edition, there are no references at all. So then when you go back to the reference list, it has the numbers. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like numbered and 75. Oh, is it like the pages? Okay, so it does say the pages, like on what page he was talking about it, but it's never like the number in the text itself, which I thought would be great to have, because, well, that's how it's always done, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because then, even though it does have the pages, so I guess you could track it down, but it's not that hard to add the number, I feel like. And then also, I want to say some numbers were wrong. I did double check, or like I did cross check, fact check some things. Some numbers were wrong. We already discussed it in the sprints, but so I'll give him that, even though it was a huge difference. It was like, he said 35,000 people died in the heat wave in Europe in 2003, while it was actually 70,000. And we did talk about that maybe it differs on how they counted it. Even though in other instances he does mention that this number doesn't include these deaths. So I would believe he would write that this number, whatever. He did not. It's just as a fact. And in reality, it was twice as many people who died. Which, I mean, that's something I could kind of be like, it's a 5-year-old book. He wrote it in 2018, actually. It was published in 19, but he wrote it in 2018. So 6 years old. So I get that. But then there is one thing. I didn't like fact check everything. I would still be on page 10 if I was doing that. But another thing that I was like immediately like, that doesn't sound right, and I had to fact check, and in fact he was wrong, is the Gulf Stream, which he said Gulf Stream ends in Antarctica, which is wrong, because Gulf Stream ends by Florida, near the Mexico Gulf, kind of. Is that what is it called? By Florida. The Gulf Stream goes from Florida to the northern Europe and in northern Canada, not to Antarctica. That's one thing I noticed was wrong, but in so many facts, he's bound to make some mistakes. So I'm not going to hold it against him. And just don't take everything as 100% correct. Yeah, I thought the notes were really well done. Yeah. All the numbers had my head spinning, especially the economic and politics chapters. Yes. The economic, I did not understand all that much. I think some of the numbers were very strange and very strangely connected. I did have some notes saying like, this comparison doesn't make sense. Like there was the one, was it the air pollution in the US? How many people die? And then he compared it to how many it will be. And the numbers seemed so like awful. And I was like, well, that sounds, but then when you actually like pay attention, it was not that bad, or like it did not actually say anything. So that I know some people do that when they are trying to get, when they have an agenda, which totally makes sense when he's writing a book like this. But I still hate it when people do it so much, because I feel like they're trying to manipulate me and tell me things that are just not true. It's misleading. Well, it's not like it's not true. It's just very misleading. I don't know if I can find it now. Unbreathable air. It was, I think, the pollution chapter. So let me see if I can find it. I don't know if anybody knows which one I talk about. The Gulf of Mexico. Yes, that's what it's called. I was close. I feel like it was up on the left, but No, I can't find it now. Oh, wait, that was the wrong chapter as well. Yeah, I can't find it, but it was something like 70,000 people died in the US from this in the last, I don't know how many years. And it is projected that in these many years, globally will die 220,000 people. I'm like, but then you are comparing uncomparable, because you cannot compare America and the globe when you're comparing numbers. So, like if you're comparing in a sense that like you put like a percentage or whatever like that, then yes. But this was clearly not the way he wrote it. And that's what bothered me. I don't know if I can find it now. I did put a note to it, or like, I don't know. I know I did underline it because I was like, oh, come on. Oh, here. These numbers don't add up. It's the chapter, very end of chapter heat death. Okay, so it was the heating. In the United States alone, 70,000 workers have been seriously injured by heat since 1992. So that's been 17 years, 70,000 workers. And by 2050, 255,000 are expected to die globally from direct heat effects. And it just feels like these numbers just don't add up to, or like, it doesn't make sense to me to be in the same sentence. Like, those are two different things. Injured, death, the US, globally, in the last 30 years, in the future 30 years. Like, these numbers are two separate things, both of them. It feels like, like it's just, I feel manipulated when they do stuff like that. But maybe that's just me. No, I skipped some comments there. This is why book clubs are so interesting. It seemed really well researched to me, and I thought his writing style was really engaging. Yeah, I mean, I get that, and definitely well researched. I don't doubt that, or I didn't say it wasn't. I just say I did not like the writing style. The references are the page numbers, and then puts it in the fact in bold, but in text numbers would have been better. Yeah, exactly. Like, I know there are page at the references. Like, I can see that there are, like, it's a page number next to each reference, but then I still need to be like, okay, is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? What are you like? What is this reference to? Like, yeah, in the text would be better. I figure the numbers would be wrong anyway, since it was 2020. Yeah, yeah. Like, when he compares to today, then those numbers are wrong. I don't care. But if he just says since 1992, or like the floods, or not the floods, the heat wave in 2003, that has nothing to do with when it was written. I mean, you saw my comments on the Discord. The whole first half of the book made me really panicky. Then came the whole thing about weird people in communes, and I was so out of it. And then the end. Yeah, I know. It was very. He even called the book himself. What is climate alarmism? Yeah, alarmist book. It is true though. It is true. Left me at least not totally hopeless. So that was something. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that will make more sense. Lots of hurricanes hitting the Gulf lately. Yep. Ah, that one hit too close for me this weekend. Yeah, the wildfires. Yes. I did actually use that air quality fact in my current essay, but I went and read the entire article from which it was referenced, and it does make sense when you read it that way. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the point. Like, you kind of need to do your own research when you read books like this. Like, these books are not the whole fact, but yeah, and the air quality was very interesting to um, compare, especially when Jess said that what you have like 190 air quality now, like the index. In Stockholm, it was 15 today. Such clean air. I mean, it's not the cleanest, the most clean, but very clean. It's crazy. It's always interesting in these books too when they choose to use facts as actual numbers, or when they say like 2/3 of the population or something. Yeah, it's like, in a way it makes sense when you're making comparisons, but in a sense it's also number that is hard to imagine, like comparing apples to oranges. I think that's the expression. I'm not great at it. Yeah, I think that's the one. Wait, no, that's not the fact I used the 150 million people will die due to air pollution. Yeah, okay, that's a different one. But yeah, this one, okay, I lost it again, but I said I was at the end of the heat death. Yeah, it's the second from last paragraph in the heat death chapter. um, and yeah, that is exactly as you just say. It's like comparing or apples and oranges. which again, both numbers could be correct and both numbers are terrifying, but they don't make sense to be in one sentence to me, But yeah. Um, then, yeah, then there are some things I found here which I thought was quite interesting, and maybe you would be able to explain it to me better. It is in Still Elements of Chaos. The chapter is Economic Collapse, and is the second to last page. So it's here when he says that over the last several decades, policy consensus has cautioned that the world would only tolerate responses to climate change if they were free, or even better, if they could be presented as avenues of economic opportunity. And then he goes on to say that market logic was probably always short-sighted, but over the last several years, at the cost of adaptation in the form of green energy has fallen so dramatically, the equation has entirely flipped. We now know that it will be much, much more expensive to not act on climate than to take even the most aggressive action today. And to that, I was thinking, like, but that is exactly the economic opportunity they are looking for. If you can prove to the business owners and to investors that by not invest like by investing in good solutions is a great economic opportunity in the long term, that's exactly what they're looking for, right? It might not be like it will make them rich, but compared to other business owners and other businesses that might not do those precautions or those actions, it will be economic opportunity to them. So to me it was like, it's not really flipped. Like the equation has entirely flipped. It hasn't flipped. It's exactly what they want. You just need to put it to them the way that they'll think like, great opportunity. And lots of businesses do take it that way. Lots of businesses do realize that it is great economic opportunity to make things more sustainable and more environmentally friendly in today's day and age. And yeah, I mean, it's not flipped. So I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood, but I don't know. Will you share all the books you used, liked, that we haven't read whenever you're done? Yeah, that would be great. There could be like a list for the books to read for the book club next year. Well, we had it at 55 today, and they already say you should be careful going outside, and that is the normal here. That was also interesting to read how much is normal for us already, although it really isn't or shouldn't be. Yeah, exactly, it shouldn't be. Um, I checked Bratislava, so where I grew up. I don't know if that's how it's always been, but they had almost 100. So not good. Up here, 15. I like it. I don't know why. That's the chapter I got up to, the economic chapter. Yeah. Then I would also go to tell you which ones I marked, or like what I marked green. And that was especially to the response to Josephine saying how like depressed this book makes her, which is totally fair. But in here it says it's page where I need to. Is it on page 15? It says it is unlikely that climate change will render the planet truly uninhabitable. I don't know if that helps. I thought that was like a good message. But at some point in the first chapter, he also talks about how he's actually very optimistic and how he thinks that we will not reach the 5 degrees and will only reach 3 or 3.5. I thought that was kind of ridiculous, but yeah. And then the yellow, what did the yellow say? Oh yeah, that's the incredible thought. But maybe let's see your comments first. It's not more normal today, I think, but yesterday was 160. That's insane. The one sentence I highlighted was that there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050. That's the near future, and it made me sad. Yes, that is sad. Yeah, but that's also kind of, I feel like this, like, I'm glad that worked for you, but again, for me, it's not gonna work because I don't know how much fish there is in the sea. Like, the sea is so huge, or the ocean is so huge. I feel like it's impossible for us to imagine how much fish there is or how much fish there should be in the ocean and how much plastic it means it will be. I don't think he talked about it. Or when he talked about how, um, yeah, there are more victims by air quality than by nuclear accidents, but then never actually said how many that is. Then in the very, very end, he talked about it. I think it was in the last section. Then he talked about the nuclear power. Um, but before that, he mentioned like 2 times or 3 times that this is actually so much worse than nuclear power, but he never actually talked about how many people were affected by nuclear power. So that was a little strange. Uh, yeah, he said he's optimistic, and then I continued to smash all the horrible things in my face. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Everything about microplastics was, ugh, yes. He smashed, not me. Yeah, he did smash. And so much of the ocean is still unexplored, unknown to humans. Yep, exactly. Like, the ocean is so huge, we don't know. So for to me, but again, that's probably my math brain, my analytical brain saying that I need a number. I need some comparison. Like, that's the kind of thing that I figure out I learn easiest is when I have some representation of the numbers in my hand, because otherwise I can, like, there's gonna be more plastic than fish. Like, of course, on its own it's terrifying, but if you really want to talk about how much plastic that actually is, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, my brain was nothing to do with math. Yeah, I know. My brain loves math. But we got to the yellow one that I wrote actually notes saying this is actually an incredible this is actually an incredible thought. I love it. And this is still in the first chapter. So that was a all right start. And I'm just gonna read this paragraph. I don't think that's copyright, is it? Says, over the last few years, as the planet's own environmental rhythms have seemed to grow more fatalistic, skeptics have found themselves arguing not that climate change isn't happening, since extreme weather has made it undeniable, but that its causes are unclear, suggesting that the changes we are seeing are the result of natural cycles rather than human activities and interventions. It is a very strange argument. If the planet is warming at a terrifying pace and on a horrifying scale, it should transparently concern us more rather than less. That the warming is beyond our control, possibly even our comprehension. That we know global warming is our doing should be a comfort, not a cause for despair. And I was like, that's actually such a fascinating idea. Like, I loved it. On one side, it makes you even more terrified, or it makes me even more terrified. But on the other side, it's like, I never thought of it that way. When anybody like ever argues that, like, yeah, climate change, but it's natural, it's not made worse by humans, it never occurred to me to actually think, like, but isn't that even more scary? Because if we know it's made by humans, then we know there is something we can do about it. But if we think it's natural and we don't make it worse, then it's just gonna end, and like, we can't slow it down. So it's like we are predicting that the earth, like, the life ends, or like humanity will end in 50 years. And I was like, that's a groundbreaking thought to me. I like that. That's awesome. I'm gonna use that from now on. And I think that's, if I take one thing from this book, it's that paragraph, it's that thought. um I just thought of pod. Yeah, I was thinking about pod in this book as well, quite a bit. What also made me sad was the oxygenless parts of the sea. Oh yeah, that was horrible too. Yeah, I didn't know that was happening actually. So that was, yeah. Mm, that was so true. Yeah, I really like that line as well. Yeah. Um Yeah, true. We know what caused it, so we know how to fix it. Exactly. And, like, I kind of understand why people like denied that the climate change is not real. I get it. And I'm not mad at those people. Like, I get it. But like this thought could kind of get to them better if you ever argue with them or if you ever have a discussion with them. So I think that's amazing. It makes me angry because nothing is happening, but yeah, technically it is in our control still a bit. So yeah, exactly. it, it is kind of like a double-edged sword, that on one side it's terrifying, but on the other side it's so hopeful. Also, my dude loves a semicolon. Yes, yes, that is true. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then one more thing I didn't like in the book, that I actually wrote it like on two different places, I think. Three different places I wrote like this again. Look at page 44. Like I remember it's page 44 because I wrote it down, I looked it up. So on, I don't know where I wrote the other things, but yeah, it's page 44, so it's the first chapter of the second section, right? Yes, heat death. And here it says that it has become commonplace among climate activists to say that we have today all the tools we need to avoid catastrophic climate change, even major climate change. It is also true, but political will is not some trivial ingredient always at hand. We have the tools we need to solve global poverty, epidemic disease, and abuse of women as well. And I'm thinking, no, we don't. No, we don't. He nowhere goes to explain that, yes, we in fact do have the tools. Quite to the contrary, there are at least three places in the book where he says, we don't have good tools yet. These tools are not sustainable today. These tools just not gonna work at the scale they need to today. So we do have the ideas, but we do not have the tools. So it feels like, because it felt like in this paragraph he was very strong in the opinion that we already have the tools, it's just the politics that doesn't work. And I'm like, but no, we don't have the tools. They are not, like, we don't have enough technological inventions and enough tools to address climate change, and let alone global poverty. If we had the tools, it would have been getting a lot better, but it's getting only a little bit better. Epidemic disease, clearly we don't have tools for that. He couldn't have known when he wrote it in 2019. Now we know we do not have tools to handle epidemic disease. And abuse of women. Tell me, what are the tools to solve abuse of women? No tools for that ever. You can, like, and there never will be. I don't think, at least not abuse of women, because that is a social thing. So unless you're gonna make like, if any woman is ever abused, no, it's not gonna work. Like, it's a death sentence. People still do it. Even if it's death sentence, people will still do it. Like, there is no tools to like, it just feels like he was very strong in that paragraph, and I completely disagreed with it. So that was another thing. And like, then he mentioned it quite a couple times later, and I was like, but no, 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 no. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird, but that's what I was thinking. Was it a Bill Gates one where he kept saying we need innovation? Like, the statement in itself was a solution. Yeah. Yeah, it was Bill Gates who was like, the innovation is the key. And it is. But like, the thing is that, well, he is one of the people who could invest in it. And he does invest in a lot of things. He does also fly on private jets, but that's a whole nother thing. So, yeah. But innovation is a big part of it, but even bigger part of it is to find a way to eliminate, not eliminate, but like lower the carbon emissions. What I worry, or what was basically my thought most of the book, was you're talking about kind of like whole world coming together solving the crisis, but that's not going to happen, because especially the poor countries care about their poor people. Like, of course, now I'm not saying that all, whatever, you know what I mean. Generalizing a lot. But you're not gonna make those people make their country worse or make life worse for their people to fight climate crisis. And that is not gonna work, in my opinion. But he does base a lot of his arguments on it, it felt like. And that is a lot of arguments that are happening in the world, and that's why we have the COP meetings. We had one just a few weeks ago. No, I don't know. Or was it this week? I don't know. So that is kind of the point, but you cannot expect all the countries to cooperate in the whole world scheme when they have lots of issues in their own nation to battle. And I come from a small poor country, so I can say from like the opposite, when you have, from the opposite side, when you have a big rich government like European Union telling a small country what they can produce, what they can't produce, what they have to export to meet some quota, which will include that then the people in the country, instead of keeping what they produced, they have to sell it to fill some quota of European Union, and then they'll have to buy it back to actually have it, is absolutely bonkers. And it does not work for small poor countries. So that's kind of like I have this opposite side perspective on it as well, that I know what it's like for a small country to try to stand up for itself and to try to make things better, not always follow what the big rich government tells them, even though it can be for like the greater good, but it's not always the priority, or it's not, especially for small countries who maybe don't deal with the climate change that much. They're gonna be like, but well, we need to deal with our problems first. Which I'm not saying that's right, but I understand it, and I think that's a valid opinion. And there needs to be some way or some system found or developed to be where the countries can do both things at the same time, which I don't think there is any system or any good system right now. The United Nations are helping a lot to the poorer countries, that is true, but it doesn't feel like that's enough. I mean, we know it's not enough. So it just, like this kind of balance or like battle of two things. Like, yes, the globe needs to work together to battle this problem, but at the same time, you cannot expect the small, poor countries to put the well-being of their people aside to battle something that potentially doesn't influence them today, you know? Which in the book we've seen that it will eventually affect them, of course, but it's complicated. It's complicated. That's what I would say. Wow, I talked a lot. That was page 48 for me, if that helps anyone. The Bill Gates thing. Yeah. Yes, oh my god, every time he mentioned pandemics, I was like that Muppet looking meme of the guy looking to the side and hurrying away. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he talks about pandemics, and I thought, how would this chapter be like now when we had this already? Exactly. Even though I don't think COVID was caused by the pandemic, to be honest, because it does talk about the viruses or the pandemics caused by global warming. Uh, COVID doesn't seem to have been caused by global warming. So it's not exactly the same, but it did show that we don't have tools to deal with it. So that's basically it. Abuse of women confused me a lot. Not that it doesn't need attention, but it doesn't belong in this book. Yes, I agree. Which was also similar to what he said before. And I was like, so you're that kind of guy, huh? I don't know if you guys want to know what that was, but that was like, why is that even here? But okay, like he was just saying his opinion. That's fine, but I disagree with it. Bill Gates, throw all your money at smart scientists. Us. How about we need to eat and pay rent? Damn rich people. Yes, exactly. When he mentioned smog, etc., in India, nearby crazy packed cities, I thought of that place. Maybe it was India. where they had a view of the mountains for the first time in like 50 years. Yeah, yeah, I know. I saw the video of it. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I don't know where it was. Was it the? Yeah, it was either India or Bangladesh, wasn't it? I mean, when everyone was in lockdown and the air pollution wasn't as bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel that when I'm anxious and my friends are telling me about their problems and I'm thinking, I can't even handle my own. Please don't pile your on. Feels like the same thing on a larger scale. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I wondered too about the stats of people who died from air pollution, etc. How many of those people also had pre existing respiratory conditions? Yeah, I think that's what's hard to analyze because what would be qualified as pre-existing condition, pre-existing respiratory condition? Lots of children who grow up near fabrics, near industry areas, develop respiratory conditions, um, even those they are not born with. So then, like how is that counted? So yeah, that is quite a topic. I think was that actually talked about in the climate book? Were they talking about the air pollution in the climate book, or maybe it was in What Can I Do? Maybe it was in What Can I Do? Well, you get respiratory conditions from air pollution. Yes, it's a circle. Yeah, exactly. Now I'm curious about the where I thought that. So you're that guy. So you're that guy, huh? Um. Yeah, here I like also this sentence he said. I'll get to the one I want, but this one as well. In fact, the belief that climate could be plausibly governed or managed by any institution or human instrument presently at hand is another wide eyed climate delusion. And to that I wrote, I'm sorry, what? Then why this book? Waiting for explanation. It's like, then what are we, like, why did you even write the book if you believe that any kind of belief that we could affect climate and help is a delusion? Whatever. I'm fun. I was like, my friend, that's not good. Um, where is mine? That was in the beginning. Yeah, here. It's page 6. So the very beginning where I say, so you're that kind of person, huh? Yeah, this, it says, yeah, like he's not vegan, whatever. I tend to think when you're at the top of the food chain, it's okay to flaunt it because I don't see anything complicated about drawing a moral boundary between us and other animals. I'm like, whatever, you're entitled to your opinion. But then, and in fact, find it offensive to women and people of color that all of a sudden there's talk of extending human rights like legal protections to chimps, apes, and octopuses, just a generation or two after we finally broke the white male monopoly on legal personhood. I was like, I'm sorry, what? You're offended. You find it offensive to women and people of color that now there are people fighting to give human like rights to other animals, to chimps and octopuses. Like, how how does it connect to one another? So it's like it's too early to fight for this. Maybe you're not wrong that you're fighting for it, but it's too early. We need to wait about 2 generations until we start caring about monkeys. Excuse me, what? I'm a woman and I don't find it offensive one bit. To the contrary, I think it's extremely important that we fight for things we believe are right now. Not like, oh, now we need to wait because women just got the right to vote less than 100 years ago. Like, no, we need to make it better now. Like, what? Yes, that weirded me out as well. It did. I was like, my dude, my dude. Yeah, so not fun fact, my town pool used to be an area that had celery farms. So a lot of us who lived near it or went in the pool a lot ended up developing asthma. Oh no! That's awful. And I really can't swim properly, so I was always swimming underwater because it's all I could do. Probably didn't help. Oh my gosh, that sucks from pesticides. That sucks. Yeah, see, it's it is a circle, as Josephine says. I took that paragraph as him saying how he thought before he started researching. No, he says he finds it offensive now. Oh, wait, you mean the other one? The first one I read, right? Uh, in fact, the belief that climate could. I don't know, it feels like that's his opinion, but it could be. Uh, yeah, that's how I looked at the book too, at that quote. Yeah. I thought it meant like we haven't taken proper measures to protect all humans properly, like we've skipped over women and people of color in favor of floofs. That's not how I understand it. Um, but okay, like if that on just a generation or two after we finally broke the white male monopoly on legal personhood. Monopoly on legal personhood. What even is that? That's such a white male monopoly on legal personhood, as in women are finally able to open bank accounts. Is that what he means? Why? Yeah, I don't get it. Like people can care about multiple things. That's exactly the same thing as my dad always used to tell me when I was vegetarian or vegan but vegetarian, and he would be like, you don't want to eat animals, like why not? And I'll be like, well, I don't want to kill animals, and like I don't think I need it to my life for animals to die for me. And I was like, yeah, why don't you care about the children who are starving in Africa? I'm like, what about them? Like you could help them instead. Like, and those are the ones that are suffering. What about some pigs? I'm like, but I can't care about two things at the same time. Just because I'm vegan doesn't mean that I don't care about people of color rights, about starving children in Africa, about tsunami in Malaysia. People can care about lots of things and do different things. So because I don't find it offensive one bit. And I'm a woman. I'm not a person of color, so I can't speak to that. But I'm a woman, and I don't find it offensive at all that we want to give champs rights. I mean, not voting rights, obviously, but rights not to be heard. So that yeah, I think that's sketchy, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Not sure if I understand his intent. Yeah, I don't know. The problem is you're writing a book. You need to be clear. Otherwise, people can misread your intents if that's not what you mean. Definitely a sensitive subject. It could be, yeah. Throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, if you will. Yeah. He's a white dude from the US. We must take his opinions with a grain of salt. Yeah, yeah, I know. Practicing my idioms now. The pancakes waffles discussion. I don't know what that is. Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Well, he acknowledged the fact, at least, that he is a privileged white dude. Did he? I guess he did. Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel the need for it in this book because, as he says in the end of the book, he does say a lot that, or like explains why he uses we a lot, that we all need to do something about it. Even though he does say multiple times again that this is for the big corporations and politicians to make the change, not us individually. Like we, just because making our individual choices will not change anything, which also is wrong. But yeah, I mean, yeah, anyway. But from that, I felt like he is obviously putting blame on himself as well, and on everyone in the developed world. Yeah, in the beginning somewhere. Okay, yeah, I did not pay attention to that, I think. Yeah, even when you acknowledge a thing, you still might have some deep biases of which you're still unaware. Yeah, of course. And I think, like, well, I think that's natural. I don't think there is anything desperately wrong with having biases. It can save your life in certain situations. Let's not pretend. But in most situations like this, when you just have a discussion, I think it is good to acknowledge you have biases, and even if you have them, as long as you know you have them, I don't really find a problem with that, because in that sense, you acknowledge it, and then you probably work towards it. Like, I know I have biases that I should not have, and that were kind of like brought in me since I was a child from my parents and what they always said. And no matter how I think about it or how I feel about it, the things are just stuck deep, 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 deep within me. So some things I still have, like, I still know, I know I still have like a problematic side to myself, if you will. But it's just how you approach it personally, like I don't think you can just blame anyone because that's a white male from the US. I don't think that's fair. But yeah, and everybody's gonna have some biases. Everybody, including those women and people of color that he mentions. Those people have biases too. Definitely, the problem is when someone paints it out and you argue that you're still right. We all have shit to unlearn and need to be open unpacking it. Yes, definitely. That absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up or talk about? I don't know. I have lots of tabs. I don't know if I want to pick everything, like go through everything now. There's lots of things to reread, or I underline lots of things. I don't know if I have any other notes. Gulf Stream, yes. Again, comparing to nuclear victims when it was never even mentioned how much that is. Yeah, in the end, he does mention it, and I actually like that because I agree with him. No, I agree with him. Like, I don't understand why, for example, Greenpeace is so much against nuclear energy. It doesn't make sense to me. I understand it has its cons, but compared to other energies, it feels like nuclear is the cleanest energy, the cleanest, strong energy we have right now. Um, so, sure, we should work on developing better energy, but nuclear is definitely one of the top. At least according to my opinion. I don't have any deep knowledge into it, so I could be very wrong. But from what I did, like my research on it, I think nuclear power is good, relatively. um, yeah. How does everyone feel about the end chapter, the alien part? Oh, the alien part. I have opinions on that. I think there, like, I didn't disagree with what he said in the alien part, but I think there was an obvious part to the alien discussion that was not brought up. I feel like that's exactly how I felt when I read The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. It was a fine book, and I think it was very interesting, very provocative, very speculative. I loved it. But there was one aspect to the plot in The Measure that was not brought up at all, and to me that was the basic explanation of the situation, and that was not brought up at all. I understand, again, that difference of the opinions, difference of the philosophical points of view, it's fine, but to me it felt like it was so obvious it needed to be at least mentioned, if not the main plot. Like, I understand it, but it should have been at least mentioned. I felt the same with the aliens. That I didn't disagree with him, and I understand his point of view, but I felt like my point of view was not mentioned whatsoever. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to discuss it, but the parts he was talking about Trump and reading it so recently after his election, oh, it hit about 100 times as hard. Yeah, that was interesting. Even though I did like when he said, I think it was fun when he said that actually Trump and Merkel are not that far apart, like their policies. And I thought that was spot on. Uh, I love that. I mean, not spot on, but it was like a thinker. It was a thinker, who, and I like that he brought that up. But yeah, definitely is now. Yeah, interesting. Even though he does say, maybe when you get further in the book, he also talks about. Is it in the book? It is in the book. That Joe Biden, when he became president, he pledged to do this and this, and for the climate. And the next day he opened the new pipeline. Or that was Canada, but Joe Biden did the same. Joe Biden did the same. He also, big part of his election, I believe, was climate change and focus on closing the pipelines. And half a year later, he opened the new pipeline. So I don't think that's a big difference between Trump and Biden. Well, Trump wants to pull out of the Paris Agreement, so that's a big part. But other than that, there's no big difference, at least from what I've seen. But also, I do not follow it very closely. So I'm sure I missed a lot of other things. So maybe I'm completely wrong. But from those things that I've seen, it feels like there is evil. There is unwillingness to do something about climate on both sides. It's not only Trump. That's how I would sum it up. Anyway, but probably more Trump than Kamala would have been. But I don't know. I'm usually sensitive to people insulting the US like we are all exactly the same. But since the election, I don't know. Defend yourselves, red states. Fudge all of you. Uh, yeah. Did I say something again? If I did, I'm sorry. Yeah, I get it. It can be sensitive, but believe me when I say I love the US. Whenever I say something about the US, I never mean that all the Americans are the same. I lived in the US for a year. I love so many American people. Like, love. It was the best year of my life. So whenever I say something that you could potentially find that maybe I'm, like offending or whatever US, it's probably just most likely, almost certainly, only very surface level and very generalized because I love the US as itself in itself. I love the life there. I love the people. Um, so if I ever say something like that, please know I love the US. There's an alien part. Oh my god, yes, can't wait. Yeah, there is a bit. What's your opinion about the aliens? I personally don't think we're being watched, but I do believe there might be a planet with intelligent life just not near us, a place we can't reach. Yeah, exactly. I don't think we are alone in that sense. I do believe there is life somewhere in the universe. I think it might not be life the way we know it. I'm not sure there are like people somewhere else, but I do believe there is some form of life somewhere else. Life that we would never understand. Maybe it's life like in a completely different time zone, in a way that the time lasts or like runs differently. So maybe even if we would be able to reach it, we would not find um, the life itself because it maybe is extremely slow, and we would not. And what we would look for is water, which other life species might not need water for their life. So until we widen our research of life, like if they're looking for life the way we know it, I'm not sure there is something like that. Probably is. I would believe it is. Maybe. I don't know. I would not be surprised if there is, but I would believe that, or I believe there is some life, but maybe not the way we know it. And if it is, it's probably very, very far away. Now, I don't believe we are watched or being watched. I believe that the life could be like, if the question, if there is life, why don't we know it? Why haven't we been contacted? Well, guess what? We haven't contacted another life either. So we don't have the technology to go so far to find life on different planets in different galaxies. We do not have the technology. How are we supposed to find life on different galaxies when we can't reach it? The same from them. Maybe they don't have the technology to reach us, you know? So it's like not all aliens would look like those ones from Arrival, from the movie, that they have this incredible technology and they can come. Like, we don't have the technology. Why should other species, other planets? So I think that is the thing that he did not talk about, that there is maybe different form of life, or the life is so far away that they cannot reach us. Like, why do we assume that if there is life, they are definitely able to reach us? That doesn't make sense to me. That's my opinion. To be fair, most of us who voted for Biden were really voting for not Trump. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yes, he did mention at the beginning ish something about the Goldilocks zone and how rare it is for life like humans to develop. I think it's really depressing to think we are the only intelligent life. Yeah, I agree. I agree. No, you didn't say anything this time. Yeah, this time. I know what it was last time, so I'm trying to be careful. But yeah, as I said, if I say anything like that, please don't take it personally. I love the US. I'll like, the only thing I can think of the recently last few weeks every day is how much I want to go to New York. Like, so bad. I love the US. Um. So yeah, sorry. But also the way the states in the US are so divided and we can't agree as an entire country isn't very hopeful for the entire world agreeing on how to fix the climate damage we've done. Yeah, exactly. So that is the problem. Every state, every country are thinking about themselves first, which is not good for the whole globe, but it is good for the country. Could be, could be. Depends, like how long term are you thinking. Unfortunately, most political systems are only for the foreseeable future, so like 4 or 5 years, and then typically they will make a plan like what is good in the next 4 or 5 years, not what is good in 20 years, which is a problem, and I think that needs to change. But I don't think it's strange that the countries are looking for their own people first, and then looking at what can we do to make it better globally. I don't think that's strange. It is not helpful for the big picture, but it's not strange. Okay, now I'm thinking of Project Hail Mary. No spoilers, please. I have not read it. The Fermi paradox. Yes, he did talk about the Fermi paradox. Yes, I thought that too. Science nerd and whoop whoop. Yeah, I'm like 20 minutes outside the city, so you better plan in a visit with me. Yep. I'm thinking next year Christmas. Well, we'll see. But I'll definitely let you know when I go. Yeah. Last time I landed in Newark. So then it would be just like, hi, hello, come, come with me. Mhm. Good. Should we go through the couple? Do we want to look at the categories there, or are we satisfied with the discussion as it was? Um, I don't think I have that many more things. I think those are like the most. The storytelling. Oh, the storytelling part was very intriguing. What did you think of the storytelling and how so many movies and yeah, so many movies and games are based on like decimated Earth and potentially like apocalyptic or climate, or like Earth after climate change? What did you think of that? I have opinions on that as well. There's just a thing in Project Hail Mary about forms of life that don't rely on water like we do. I love that book and wouldn't want to spoil. Yeah, please don't. I still have it on there. I want to read it. But that's cool. So I'm not the only one thinking about that. That's great. Or if there are, I think it's discussed right in the beginning. Okay, nice. Read Project Hail Mary. Yes, yes, I own it. I have it. I still haven't gotten to it. Henry got it for me right when it was released, and I still haven't gotten to it. I don't know why. Mm. The storytelling, I don't know if anybody has opinions on it. If not, that's fine. But I'm then gonna share mine. The storytelling, I felt yeah, it was talking a lot about. Well, let's see if I can find it. Um, I would recommend the audio. Yes, everybody does. Yeah, thank you. I will definitely. I heard people talking about the audio for the book, so I will definitely check it with the audiobook. The MC also doesn't curse, so relatable for public facing. Thank you. Good to know. Let's just say the human psychology is interesting. Yes. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, okay. In the storytelling, it says that on screen, climate devastation is everywhere you look, and yet nowhere in focus, as though we are displacing our anxieties about global warming by restaging them in theaters of our own design and control, perhaps out of hope that the end of days remains fantasy. Game of Thrones opens with an unmistakable climate prophecy, but warns winter is coming. The premise of Interstellar is an environmental scourge, but the scourge is a crop blight. Children of Men depicts civilization in semi-collapse, but collapse by a fertility menace. Mad Max Fury Road unfurls like a global warming panorama, a scrolling saga of a world-made desert, but its political crisis comes, in fact, from an oil shortage. The protagonist of The Last Man on Earth is made dead weight by a sweeping virus. The family of A Quiet Place is hushed by giant insect predators lurking in the wilderness, and the central cataclysm of the apocalypse season of American Horror Story is a throwback, a nuclear winter. In the many zombie apocalypses of this era of ecological anxiety, the zombies are invariably rendered as an alien force, not an endemic one. That is, not as us. And I understand where he's coming from, but I also feel like maybe, or I mean, I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a writer. I don't know if these actually are like climate change based plots, but it feels as if he was a little bit, um, what is it called? In Slovakia, we call it sickness from profession. Means wherever you go, you see things related to your profession. When he was writing the book, whatever he saw a climate prophecy in it. He saw a climate devastation in everything. While he's not wrong with these things that, um, sure, in Game of Thrones you have winter is coming, and I don't think it is unmistakable climate prophecy. I would imagine it could be a universe where there is a huge part of the world that has winter. Simple as that. It does not need to mean that the climate is changing and winter is coming on the entire country. We will all freeze because, like, I don't feel that's true. I also don't see how insect predator, like giant insect predator, is climate change based. Like how? I think he's reading a little bit too much into it. So while it is, I think, interesting to think about it, how much there is like climate change or the climate crisis or unraveling of the nature in different works of whether books or movies or whatever. I don't feel like that is the point to bring this suffering to people. Like, oh, I never watched Game of Thrones and thought climate change. Never did once it occurred to me, honestly. Neither with Interstellar. I never seen the other things. But like, I feel like maybe he's reading a little bit too much into it, but that could be me. See, that's what I meant. That part about restaging, talking about media. Just such clever word choice. Lovely writing. Oh, yeah. Okay. Restaging. Yeah, yeah, he definitely has a way to twist things that you normally would not. That I'll give you that, yes. But it didn't work for me. I don't know. I didn't like it. Not like I didn't like it. Not like I hated it, but I just did not love it. What I mean. It's ironic that we want to watch, play doomsday movies, games, but when it comes to the climate, they rather stick their heads in the sand. Yes. Um, ooh, how profound, Larissa. That's deep for a Sunday. I mean, I was able to sleep in the morning. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he's talking about in that chapter, in the storytelling chapter. That's what he's talking about, and in a way, yeah, some of the parts, yeah, or like when we read the parable of the sower, that was exactly the kind of thing. But I don't feel like that's exactly like when I play a zombie or like when I watch a zombie movie. I don't think like, uh climate change, zombies. Like how does that even, I don't get it. Like how does that even connect? To me it does not connect, but maybe I'm just simpleton and naive. I just thought it was interesting that we are now maybe fascinated with aspects of climate change in sci-fi or whatever, but we don't want those stories anymore once we are smack in the middle of it. uh yeah, I know. But I don't understand it. Like I know this is exactly what he was saying. This is exactly what he was trying to portray, but didn't, like, to me that's not at all what it is, you know. But maybe it's just because I live in a place where we can't really see any consequences of climate change just yet. Like sure, this year is warm, but last year it was very cold. So I don't think that this year was warm means anything. And it's not enough for me to say like, oh, I don't want to watch movie about climate change. But yeah, so maybe people who live in like Georgia or Florida, people who have lots of hurricanes, they maybe don't want to watch the movie The Twisters that just came out. So in that sense, yes. And then The Twisters, again, that could be based on climate change, but it also could be just a story about a tornado. You know, like again, I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know. Maybe it is like a center that all because of climate change we have these many tornadoes now. Maybe it is. But back in the day, that was not the discussion. There will be tornadoes, but it was just the movie about the tornado. It was not a movie about climate change. I have trouble to put my thoughts into words. No, but you make perfect sense, Josephine. Them math people. Sorry. Yeah, the amount of people that love Florida weather is mind-boggling. You love humidity and hurricanes? I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it either. I was never tempted to go to Florida or anything. I don't know. Florida is not the place that's luring me in. No, but you don't distract yourself with a novel about terrible catastrophes anymore when you live in one. That's what I thought he meant. Yeah, I know that's what he meant, but again, yeah, I know that's what he meant, but what I mean, okay, I guess I'm not explaining it well. Like what I mean is that I personally, the things that he, okay, from those I watched only two, but I did not feel like they were climate based. Like it was not a climate based plot for Game of Thrones. Even though winter is coming is basically the basic, like the main trajectory of the entire TV show, but I don't feel like it's climate based. I would never sit and watch and be like, this is so entertaining because it's so terrifying because winter is coming, because the climate change. Like it never came to my mind. Like I don't understand that these things he was describing in the book are climate based, and I believe that lots of those things are not climate based. And that's what I mean. Like that he was probably reading a little bit into it. But of course, I understand if you have a movie about the climate change or movies directly affected by climate change, maybe you will not enjoy it as much when it's actually happening. That absolutely is true. but I don't think there is nearly as many climate change based movies as he portrays it is as there are. That's what I mean. Like when I watch the movies, I don't think to myself like, oh, that's climate change based movie. That's totally about climate change. I'll be like, no, it's just raining. It's a tornado. Like, but yeah, that's probably maybe just because I don't watch movies. You also read the book in a different language, so you have to translate your thoughts. Be fair to yourself. Yeah, Josephine. Exactly. Their allergy season is year round. No, thank you. Seriously? That's awful. Winter is coming always felt like more of a metaphor to me. Yeah, the same. Like I don't feel like it's a climate change TV show. That's what I mean. Like he puts the climate, it's unmistakable climate prophecy is what he says. Literally. Is it this one? Where is it again? Yeah. Game of Thrones opens with an unmistakable climate prophecy, but warns winter is coming. I never had a feeling of any climate prophecy in Game of Thrones. That's what I mean. Like maybe he's reading a little bit too much in everything that's a little in the movies. Like, oh, winter is coming. We have a little strange weather, climate change. Like, no, that's not how I read movies. Okay, that's where you're coming from. Yes, fair. Got it now. Yes, sorry. Yeah, and the ones that are about it are just so sensational and over the top that they don't feel real either. True, true. Yeah. 0% deaths in that series are due to climate, more to accidents, swords, and war. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's only what I mean. Like as what you explained, Josephine. Yes, I absolutely get that. But I felt like he reads a little bit too much into the movies, like just a little thing, and there is a giant insect, and he's like climate change. I'm like, how? It's just a horror movie about giant insect. Like what? So yeah. Well, I did think about crops dying, etc., but that disappeared when I saw dragons and shit. Okay. Was that a thing in Game of Thrones? I did not notice, or I don't remember that. The Weather Channel used to do this show called It Could Happen Tomorrow. And there was one about what if a category 5 hurricane hit New York City. And wow, I turned that off quickly. The truth is terrifying. Yes. Yeah, I get that. I would not watch that. Yeah, definitely right there. Yeah. Okay, but is there anything else we should discuss? I think we'll skip the Copal this time around. It doesn't feel like we need to go through that unless you really want to. I think I'll rate this book 3 stars because, as I said, I did not love the writing style. I did not feel like these are great thoughts. It just felt like he's just writing the obvious. To me, that's what it felt like. Um, and there was one thought that will live in my head rent free. That's the one with that it's actually good news that the climate changing so fast is our doing. Otherwise, it was just an average book to me. So I think 3 stars for me. And that was maybe in 2009. It would be even scarier now, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, also, I think it's super scary because when I read that New York City is actually sinking like 3 centimeters every year or something. I don't know how many centimeters. It could be 5 or 1 or something. 1 to 5 because of the weight of the skyscrapers. That's insane. Like, that's the most terrifying things of all. Well, not most terrifying of all, but like that's just human versus nature kind of thing. Like the ultimate human versus nature. We built so many concrete buildings in Manhattan Island, on Manhattan Island, that now the island is sinking. Insane. I didn't rate my books, but I wouldn't know how to anyway with this one. Okay, fair. Totally fair. 3 stars for me as well. Nice. That wasn't that bad. I didn't finish it yet, so I don't know. No. But let us know when you finish. Yeah, sinking always makes me think of Venice, but it's happening way closer to home too. Yeah. Venice also sinking. It's so sad. I never been to Venice. I want to go before it sinks. But yeah, that's it for the uninhabitable Earth. Let me know if any of you would like to read Factfulness, because I feel like that one is a lot more hopeful, and it does put a lot of things in perspective. While here it talks about how everything got worse, in Factfulness it talks a lot about things that also got better. So I would be very much open to read Factfulness with all of you, I think, and annotate the crap out of it as well. So let me know if you would like to read that at some point soon. I don't know, soon. Not maybe not December, but like January, February, something like that. We could make it another like a CliMates weekend or something. That would be fun. Also, another book that I think would be very good counter cure to this one, The Uninhabitable Earth, and especially those, talking to you, Josephine, who feel very hopeless after this book. And that is book, I've been talking about this one as well. Where is it? Don't fall. Here. The Book of Hope by Jane Goodall and Douglas Abrams. So this book is basically an interview between Douglas Abrams and Jane Goodall. And he asks a lot of questions about, well, everybody's talking about how the world is getting worse, about how it's hopeless, about how we are reaching the 2 degree. There is nothing we can do to stop the 2 degree increase. How do you stay hopeful? And Jane Goodall just puts it in such a beautiful way. It's incredible. You can see so many tabs. I don't know, do I have, no, I just, yeah, I have lots underlined. I don't know, you can't probably see, but I have million tabs in this, and I read it for myself, not for book club. So that's the monkey lady. Yes, Jane Goodall is the monkey lady. Yeah. I definitely recommend. So if you would like to read this as well as extra book club book, I would be very happy to reread this one, revisit it, because definitely after a book like Uninhabitable Earth, this could be a beautiful counteraction. So let me know those two books. We could definitely do plan it sometimes. In The Book of Hope by Jane Goodall, I would very much recommend, and the Factfulness, which is not like focused on climate only, but as a whole. It talks about the things that have gotten worse, and a lot of like talking points in politics and in economy and whatever, and then how many things actually got better. So it does talk also about the climate, but also about a lot of other things too. So that's why I'm suggesting that one, that maybe it brings a little bit of a perspective to books as depressing and as alarmist as The Uninhabitable Earth. That yes, things are getting worse, but there are lots of things that are also getting better. That's my message. Thanks for sharing all your sorry. Thanks for sharing all your thoughts. Listened to you all while preparing the new crochet project. Nice. I heard weird people living in communes and aliens, and now I kind of want to pick it back up again. Nice. Do that. Do that. It was very interesting read, but maybe you need to take your time with it. I went in high school. It was smelly, but also peaceful with no cars. Okay. I don't. What was that in related to? Smelly, also peaceful with. Oh yeah. Like you walked to school? I don't understand what you're trying to say there. I'm tired. I'm here for all the climate books, honestly. Nice. Yes, please give me something with hope. Yeah. I literally just had the same thought. About what? Now I forgot. I would be in. Nice. Venice. Yeah, exactly. Um, love your message. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna maybe message or like put it in the Discord, see who would be interested in it. And if not, we can just buddy read it, you and I, Josephine, or like both of us. If we both want to read it, I would definitely go for those. I read both of them, so there will be a reread, but it will be very interesting to see what I think about them now, reading them for the second time. Thought was about the monkey lady. Okay, the one with the high school. Venice was the beautiful, smelly place. Of course, that's what you're talking about. You went to Venice in high school. Was smelly but also peaceful with no cars. Okay, sorry. Got it. Gotcha. Thank you for being patient to explain. I used all my brain power for my game last night, it seems. Me too. Exactly. It left out of the window. Barbara's brain's also not here anymore. No, it left. I hear Henrik making dinner, so I'm already eating dinner. Um, so yeah, so I will let you know, or I will ask on the Discord if there is anybody interested in reading this. If there are few of us, we will plan it in. Otherwise, I will talk to you, Josephine, about these two books if you would be interested in reading them and when. Um, up, I clicked on something. Okay. Otherwise, our next book for November and December is The Coral Bones by E.J. Swift. Is a fiction book, and we follow three women divided by time, connected by the ocean. Marine biologist Hana Ishikawa is racing against time to save the coral of the Great Barrier Reef, but struggles to fight for a future in a world where so much has already been lost. 17-year-old Judith Holliman escapes the monotony of Sydney town during the 19th century when her naval captain father lets her accompany him on a voyage, unaware of the wonders and dangers she will soon encounter. Thelma Velasco is hunting for a miracle in a world ravaged by global heating. A leafy sea dragon, long believed extinct, has been sighted. But as Thelma investigates, she finds hope in unexpected places. Past, present, and future collide in this powerful elegy to a disappearing world and vision of a more hopeful future. So I think this is going to be a great counter act or like following book to the Uninhabitable Earth, because it feels like this one will have a very hopeful ending. At least that's what I hope for. That actually was my thought when I was scheduling these books. I was like, I need to put something cheerful after Uninhabitable Earth. So I had that in mind immediately. So yeah, this is the one. It's a shortlisted for the British Science Fiction Association Award for Best Novel and shortlisted for the Kitschy's Red Tentacle for Best Novel. So yeah, and shortlisted for the author C. Clarke Award. So I'm really excited to read this one. Hopefully, it will fix our depression, our climate anxiety. Um, Thank you for the discussion, Barbara and everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here and discussing and reading the book. It was very interesting one to discuss, I think. I'm interested in all the things. Oh, nice. Huzzah. I really hope it's a good one. I like Paris Adrift by this author. Oh, nice. I've never heard of this author. And this one is the one that you suggested 2 years ago. So I'm glad we are doing this. Ooh, lots of perspectives again. Yes. Amazing cover too. Yeah. It's very pretty. I like it. More hopeful future. Yes, please. Exactly. Um, Always lovely to chat with all of you in general, but also about climate books. Yes. The same to you. Great. So, thank you so much, everyone, for reading the book, or at least, like, starting or being interested or being engaged. in the CliMates Book Club. I appreciate it so, so much. Every one of you who is part of the book club in one form or another, even if you don't manage to finish every book for every live show, I still appreciate it so, so much. And yeah, love you for it. Yes, it's been sitting on my shelf since it was published, I think. Whoops, yeah. But it says it was published in 2022, but it was also reprinted this year, I think. So yeah, this edition published in 2024. Yeah. Oh, see you all next time. So yeah, thank you for today's discussion. I will see you next when we discuss, well, not next, I'll see you on Tuesday, but for the book club, when we discuss the coral bones. Again, there will be a channel on Discord where we can discuss it if we feel like it, whenever you feel like it. And yeah, thank you so much for the discussion today. I hope you enjoyed the book on some level, and hope you have a great rest of the evening or rest of the day. And yeah, I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Bye.